Hello everyone and welcome to Yoga Talk. I'm Lise Units and I have special guest stars today I'm very excited about, beginning with Hilary Harley, who's an astrologer. Yes?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
And Pat Murphy, you've probably known and loved from other sessions, and we're all going to talk about astrology. Hilary is the main character here. We're very excited. She reads people's natal charts and things. I'm going to have her explain it more to you, but it's really substantial. Pay attention. You're going to get a lot out of this half hour. So welcome. Hilary, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Lise.
I'm so happy to have you. It's wonderful. So if you'd like to tell us some of your background, your experience, I know you're quite experienced, and what it's all about, and let's go from there.
So astrology is a blueprint of your life. It's a roadmap that highlights the blessings and the challenges that we are each endowed with, that we enter this lifetime with. It shows the direction we are going and how best to get there. So I have a natal chart.
Okay.
This is Pat's, and essentially it's a snapshot. Your natal chart is a snapshot of the moment that you're born. It's a picture of the sky at the exact time of your birth. And so it can tell you so many things. For each segment of your life, it can show what areas you may struggle with and what areas that you will absolutely shine in.
Now, is it essential to know the time of your birth?
You can get a chart read without the time of birth, but it is much more beneficial to have the time because you can get a really precise reading rather than more of a generic reading.
So these are where the stars were when you were born, where the planets were, where the sun, the moon.
Correct.
What sphere of the hemispheres they were in, whatever, right? Yeah.
Right. So the center of this picture is Earth, and it shows where all the planets were at the exact moment of your birth and the angles that the planets are making to one another at the time of your birth.
And these will tell your sign. We talk about what's your sign.
Right. So the big three in astrology are your sun, your moon, and the ascendant, which is also known as the rising sign. But then, so people have sort of a misconception that when they look in the newspaper or a magazine and they read, say, Scorpio or Aries, that tells the entire picture. But the sun has a sign in your natal chart, the moon, Venus, Mars, all of the planets, and the configuration, the angles that each of these make to one another in the natal chart is how you present in this world.
So it's a lot of insight.
It's a lot of information.
Yes, it's a lot of information. I want to tell the audience that it was Pat that drew me to Hilary, which is a really cool thing. Pat knows so many different people, so many different aspects of alternative energies, I guess you could say. But it was Pat that got me, probably a year later after she had first talked about Hilary, to finally do it. And Pat, if you would like to say, because you've had it read more than once with Hilary, or?
Just once with Hilary,
Okay.
but over the years, this is probably my fourth chart. But I like to, there's about 7 to 10 year increments.
And are they similar to your birth diagram?
Well, what was said back 20 years ago or 30 years ago has evolved to where I am now. And that's what the nicest part about it is. And I think we talked about this, and I encourage people to get their chart done and to really have some insight into understanding who they are, why they're doing certain things, what's driving them, why they're in a certain occupation, what the next challenge might be. And it just rings so true. And I really do encourage people, if they're having some dilemma in their life, oh, get your chart done. You'll really have a better understanding of who you are.
It's pretty fast. I mean, it's beyond fascinating, and it's so complicated. Do you want to explain just a minute for how the houses are?
Okay, so an essential, I'll use my chart because it's slightly bigger. There are 12 houses, 1st through 12, and each of them deals with a segment of life. So whether it's physical, the physical body, money, communication, the home, home and family, art, sports, health, partnership and art, collected shared resources, and spiritual understanding, education, the professional life, goals and friendships, and finally spirituality and the end of life cycle.
Ooh. So do you forecast people's...
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people come to an astrologer for different reasons. Some people want better self-understanding. Some people are going through a crisis. Some people want to know when they're going to meet the love of their life. Some people are having trouble at work. Some people want to have a chart done for their child if they just had a child, or if they have a teenager. I've had a lot of people come to me, help me understand my teenager. So
do you have a few days?
So, you know, it's just, I typically spend an hour and a half to 2 hours with somebody, with any client, walking them through the dynamics of a personality, because that's essentially what a chart shows, is a personality, and it shows soul origin and soul growth and potential. I mean, at the end of the day, this is about a human being's potential on this planet.
It's very powerful stuff. I had my chart read just a week or two ago, and the best part is that Hilary tapes it. I don't know if this is normal for other astrologers, but she tapes what she's telling me and or telling you, and the whole time I was just writing notes, and I filled up a notebook practically of just jotting down things you were saying, and then I was emailed the recording. And it's just fabulous to listen to. And somebody asked, is this self-prophecy? Is it, you know, self-fulfilling? Is that how it works? Or is it's really, and I think it's probably a little of both.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be very careful. You know, in the medical profession, there's a phrase, do no harm, and that applies to all healing arts professions.
Yoga too.
Right,
yeah.
Whether it's yoga or acupuncture or anything. So, you know, especially with an infant chart, I take extremely good care, not that I don't with every client, but, you know, with a new set of parents, you have to be especially careful how you phrase certain things, because you don't want to say, oh, this child is going to have health issues or whatever, because that casts such a shadow. So you have to be extremely careful with the language. And prophecy is not a word that I tend to use. I like to really refer to it as the potential, to show where there are challenges and struggles potentially, and definitely the blessings, and where opportunities can be harnessed and accessed for, you know, just life enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just love it. Pat, now you've had your forecast done with others as well? I mean, Hilary, you do a few different things. You read the chart, and then you can choose another avenue.
Right. So when somebody comes to me for the first time, if they've never had a natal chart done, like Pat had a natal chart done, if they have not had a natal chart done, I say you really should start with a natal chart so that you have the understanding of the elements within you, you know, who you are and where you're going. If you have had a natal chart done, then, you know, the sky's the limit. You can look at, you know, just sit and talk about career for an hour and a half. You can talk a lot of people come to me annually for what is called a solar return chart, which is a birthday chart essentially. So the philosophy goes that within a 3-day window around the day of your birth, the day before, the day of, and the day after, just the picture and the configuration of what is going on for you. So, I do those a lot. And then there's the transiting forecast, which is what people misconstrue as prophecy, because as the planets circle around your natal chart, they impact you and you feel that. And, so why is this happening to me? Why do I feel this certain way? Why are these relationships changing? And so that's what, many sessions are spent on, discussing those challenges and changes that people are undergoing.
Well, I think it's so fascinating. I know some people might think, oh, this is humbo jumbo or something like that, but I was really convinced with you. So I don't know if that's true of every astrologer, probably not, like any field, right? But just so you all know, this is why she's on my show. I think she's fantastic, and Pat has been raving about her, but I think you have a gift, and I would like to ask you what you told me that your gift came from your grandmother, or it came along through?
Yes. So I was born into, middle class American family, Christian, did not discuss astrology, did not believe in astrology, but my grandmother was passionate about astrology. And when I was little, she used to pull me aside and we used to have these wonderful chats. And, it just seemed, and it is, very magical and just an extraordinary field of study that is really infinite and endless. So, because it was not discussed and encouraged, my parents were wonderful, but it was just sort of something, redirected around. I came to it, or I returned to it much later in life when I had my children when they were little, and my mind was thirsting for something, and astrology came back into my life, and it just exploded, and I could not take enough classes. I could not read enough books. I mean, Amazon was my best friend, and 7 Stars in Cambridge was, I practically lived there. So, I had various tutors. Dietrich Pessin, who is in Watertown, is an amazing astrologer, and I currently have been working with Monique Pommier, who is in Jamaica Plain for about 10 to 12 years. I've been working with her, and I meet with her once a month, and we just, we talk, we're friends, but we also definitely look at charts.
Okay. Now, Pat, how did you find Hilary?
From my colleague and friend, Jerry Zipser. We were mediators together, and she introduced me to Hilary. I think that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
And being the seeker of knowledge that I am, a Sagittarius, the mystic, and so it's always fascinated me, and I just love it. I have had both not through Hilary, but both my grandchildren done, my children's charts done.
Nice. Well, Pat has said to me over the years, you need to find out what your rising sign is. You need to find out what your rising sign is. Oh, whatever, just put it on the chart, things to do, And lo and behold, when I had my chart done, I have always considered, first of all, that I'm a Gemini, except that I'm right on the cusp, and I knew that on the cusp. Hilary reads my chart, and I am a Taurus, just by a few degrees, very late degree Taurus, but still, and rising sign is Cancer, and then my moon sign is Capricorn, and I knew nothing about those signs, so now this is all opened up to say, oh, I really don't know who I am now. But it's a guide. It's such a wonderful guide.
Yeah, I mean, it shows different pieces of us, how we relate to men and women, how we think, how we speak,
what careers are best,
careers that we're drawn to, that we would shine in. So it just, for every part of your life, for every segment, it really shows where you have the greatest potential and often sometimes struggles.
That's so you can kind of maybe ward them off, or
Well, it's a tool. It's a great tool for self-navigating, to work around it, the struggles and challenges that we have. It's like a toolkit. How do you approach this? And where the shadows are that lurk in our lives, and sometimes we don't understand why we have certain fears, but the chart can definitely open up and show where there are fears, and how to cope with them and work with them so that they are lessened and ultimately ameliorated.
okay. Can you walk us through how you would go about? I mean, this is such a beautiful. It's an artistic expression as well, to do all these little gizmos. I don't know if the camera can pick these up, right? But do you have?
What are those little gizmos called?
Yeah.
Those wickets.
Those little, yeah.
So this is the rising sign for my chart. It's Libra, and they're called glyphs. And so it goes around the wheel. If you started, this is the Aries house, the ascendant, but I have the opposite sign of Libra. So if you were to start with Aries being the first sign, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So I have the opposite because I have Libra, which is directly opposite Aries on my rising sign.
Oh, okay.
So it just shows that Libra is the sign of partnership, harmony, negotiation. It's very people-pleasing energy, and so that's I come to a relationship thinking about the other person, greatly invested in them.
And that's your rising sign.
That is my rising sign.
So that's more about who you are than your sun sign.
I mean, I like to equate it with if you're at a cocktail party and you meet somebody for the first time, the rising sign is the mask that you present. It is not who you are. I am a Cancer sun sign, so if you're at that cocktail party, you're just engaged with this very sort of service, hello, how are you, chit chat, and then something in the conversation triggers a deeper question. And so you sort of take off that mask and you reveal a little bit more of your identity. For me, that would be Cancer. For you, that would be Taurus. Oh, and you start talking about very Taurian things, whether that's art and beauty and clothing and personal possessions. I mean, Tauruses are renowned for their interior decorating skills and their art and beauty. Cancers, notoriously like to cook. So something about that conversation triggers. And then you have, we are really connecting, and we decide, hey, let's meet for coffee in a week. So we go, and then that's when you show your moon sign, which is much more of your emotional life, your interior being, who you are, because you feel safe in that setting to really reveal what you're
deeper
emotionally,
level layers.
Right. Whereas at a cocktail party, you're not going to be doing that.
Right. So my question to you is, how often are you right can you predict, like if you meet people, you think, oh, right away, Sagittarius, that's a...
I've been asked
something,
that.
or,
people will come up to me, or, they'll hear that I'm an astrologer, and they'll say, so what's my sign? And I'll say, well, I'm not a psychic. So there's a big difference.
Plus they're presenting this other layer that's not your sign.
Correct.
Right? They're putting the rising sign out there or something.
It's like they're giving you a challenge to see if you really know what you're talking about.
Right.
I get that happens to me a lot too. And
Right. There are a lot of skeptics, and so there is absolutely people in the healing arts that cross-fertilize, so to speak. That are psychics and astrologers, that are mediums, that are all different flavors combined together. I am not a psychic or a medium. I am an astrologer, and I really I can look at you and say perhaps I see these characteristics and qualities, especially after talking to a person. But it's really, you have to look at a chart to break a person down and be able to understand who they are.
Okay.
It's not something that you can guess at. Or
even after talking, say, half an hour, and you start to get to know someone, or
I mean, you can.
But even then,
you can say they have a lot of Libra, or they're very socially concerned. There's a bit of a radical flavor to them. Maybe they have some Aquarius in them, but it's not. It can shock you when you actually. You think you know somebody based on a conversation, and then they come to have a reading and they present very differently on paper. And you're like, oh, that's...
And that could be, that's what I think I'm talking about, is the significance of that, of them getting a reading and say, oh, wow, now, maybe now I can really be myself because this is talking to me. I've been kind of searching all around or something like that.
To me it was always, oh, no, I know why I just did that, or why I feel like that, or, oh, I wish I could stop that.
Right. I mean, people who have habits they want to break, whether they're, cyclical patterns of relationship choices or, health patterns that they get into that they can't seem to shift out of. I've had people come to me for that. But it really, I like to refer to astrology as psychotherapy on steroids, because it is just, you can spend, and I'm not belittling psychology or therapy in any way, because it's invaluable as a tool for self-understanding, but astrology, you can spend an hour and a half and suddenly understand why you're wired a certain way, which may take you a year or two. And I do have people who are therapists that come to me, and I have my mentor Monique Pommier has psychiatrists that go to her. So
now, do the superstars get their charts read, do you suppose, or if you
yeah.
Oh, sure. Nancy and Ronnie Reagan. He never did anything unless Nancy checked in with her astrologer.
I had thought of that recently because I saw it written down somewhere recently too,
right.
And how out that was, and yet you have to forgive her. She lives in California,
right.
They did and all that, so
she was just ahead of her. She was open about it.
Yeah,
and
she
people
was
aren't.
very open. Right.
So, if you could tell me a little bit more now. Besides this round thing, there's that triangular thing.
So this is a grid that essentially shows all of the angles that are going on in Pat's natal chart. So, for example, Mars is making a challenging angle to her sun. So Mars is your active energy. So Pat has a lot of energy. She is a go-get-'em person.
True.
That just, and then you read the sign that Mars is in and the sign that the sun is in and each of the houses that those are in. And it can tell you a wealth of information. The triangles are blessings. So for Pat, that's Neptune is making a beautiful angle to Saturn. And this is actually one of my favorite angles because it is, I call it the dream maker. The dream maker angle. You can bring dreams into reality. Saturn is about your hard work. I call it the taskmaster of the zodiac. Neptune is the dreamer. So you put hard work combined with dreams and you get the dream maker quality. And that's
there
Pat.
she is.
So, and then you get the drive and the energy, and look out. You have a force, a tour de force in Pat.
What did you, I was trying to tell you, Lise, what you said when I left. You said something that I can't remember, but I think it was similar to what you're saying there, but who knows?
So you walked out of there floating?
I did. Well, self-confident. I felt much more confident in myself and my abilities. Sometimes you're the only person that knows that you can do it. And it takes, and if you haven't got support around you,
right,
it's a little harder.
It's always good to have affirmation that you really can, and you're really on the right track, and you really have what it takes to accomplish getting to that destination and goals, to fulfill the potential that you have. So.
Well, one thing Hilary told me was that I have an army of angels around me.
Yes.
And now, all honesty, I don't know a thing about angels. I've never had angel readings. I'm going to. We're going to have that on the show at some point too. I've never done that. I don't know who they are. But of course, when you said that, I thought, oh, I think I've always felt that I've had that, something like that. And now, of course, I can name them, all my favorite people that have passed away, you know, that kind of a thing. And I think, well, are those my angels? They don't have names like, you know, Raphael or something, you know. That,
Michael, right.
That's a whole nother that I
Right.
have yet to even
Right.
go near. Have you had angel readings? Or
I
anything like
have,
that?
actually. I have worked with a woman named Kara Russell of Hearts and Stars Healing, who's in Plymouth, and she's amazing. And you know, there are many people that can do angel readings. She's one of the best that I've come across.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. I'll have to get her information then too. I would like to know, you have a website and
Yes,
that sort
I
of
do.
a thing?
I
We
do.
could put that up on the screen, or if you just want to tell us now, or if that's...
It's www.hilaryharley.com.
Okay, we will definitely put that up on the screen. And you have a workshop coming up
I do.
too.
I have a workshop on March 28th, Creativity Moon Cycles. And
2015, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
March 28th of 2015.
So it's away.
Yes. It's about 5 months away. And it's going to be in Watertown at a yoga studio, the Sanctuary for Reiki.
Oh, I've been there.
Yes.
Okay.
For healing, for yoga and Reiki.
So what would that be like? What sort of how would you conduct a workshop?
Well, this particular workshop, so I consider my specialty, you know, I love reading charts. I love working with people for all different, you know, reasons, and whether they're coming for, you know, marriage issues or what have you. But one of my favorite things that I specialize in is artistic recovery and discovery.
Oh.
So, you know, because a lot of times people are told you can't, you shouldn't, you won't make any money at it. And, you know, so
Stops you cold.
it stops you cold from childhood forward. And so I just find that, you know, the chart can reveal so much about any particular factor of your life, but especially the artistic potential that somebody has, and what kind of artistry they have, and you know how they can market it. I mean, the sky's the limit, really, in terms of answering those questions. And so this particular workshop has to do with moon cycles, because each of us has a moon in a certain sign, in a certain house. And so and the phase of the moon, whether it's balsamic or first quarter or, you know, waning or waxing, gibbous. So that can show so much about self-expression, because the self-expression comes from your moon. You know, what your emotional state is and how you relate not only to yourself but to the outer world.
See, it's very complicated and very wonderful, very interesting. I know it.
What's your moon? Your
Cancer.
Cancer.
No, that's not my
No,
rising. No,
that's your rise.
Capricorn.
Capricorn's
I
your
know
moon.
nothing
Very-
about Capricorn.
Very practical, pragmatic, down to earth, step by step. You know, you build a life. Very grounded. It's an earth sign.
Okay.
So my children both have moons in Capricorn.
Oh.
Very practical and pragmatic.
Well, I'm thinking it would be a nice thing to have my husband read. And you can do distance readings.
Yes.
Why don't we finish up with that? Go ahead.
So, you know, in the day and age that we live in, it's very hard for people to take time out of their lives and come to where I work and sit for an hour and a half to 2 hours, you know, travel time, so forth.
Right.
So they'll call, they'll, you know, just send me a quick email via the web and just say, you know, I want a solar return reading, especially for return clients. Or can you look at my progressed and transit, my progressed chart and my transits, which is the forecasting. It's how the planets are moving around your natal chart.
So you do it on the phone, or you do it like FaceTime?
I can do it on the phone. I do it on the phone. I have not Skyped yet, although there are
same.
many.
That's got to be coming. Yeah.
Many astrologers who Skype with their clients and record it at the same time and then send them the recording. But I typically just look at the chart and talk for an hour and a half and then email the recording to the client.
That's pretty brilliant. I think that's amazing.
The technology
and
is
she is amazing. Check her out, hilaryharley.com. And I want to thank you so much for coming
Liz.
today.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat,
Quick
thank you
hour.
so much for getting me to Hilary and all that. It's been fabulous. And thank you all for watching. Namaste.